On behalf of our capo, Dominic Condoloro, who is in Florida at a conference, I want to welcome everybody here. This is a great privilege for us to have the Italian consulate here, and Loris and Paolo, our distinguished authors. It is a great honor to bring everybody together today. So I just want to welcome you all to the home of Casa Italia.
Grazie.
Thank you. Thank you, Terry. May I ask you just in the meantime, while we start with the coffee, to give something information on Casa Italia here?
Yes.
Would you mind? Thank you.
No. This originally was a seminary for the Scalabrini fathers. And we had some volunteers who were in training at the seminary here. And it was here, I think, from the 1930s. 1930s. And Casa Italia actually didn't come into existence, the museum part of it, until 1980. We had a traveling exhibit that was from a grant, National Endowment for the Arts grant that Dominic and one of his students were awarded to make a presentation about Italian immigrants in Chicago. So it was exhibited at the Chicago Cultural Center, which you probably know as the Chicago Public Library in downtown Chicago. And it was ran there, I think, for 6 weeks. And our room upstairs, Italians in Chicago, was actually built upon that core. As I said, this is a seminary. Now, the seminary, these buildings, these grounds, have been sold, an agreement between the mayor and the Scalabrinis. This building has been grandfathered in, so we're not going to go anywhere. The grounds are going to be changing. The pavilion is going to be updated. There's going to be a soccer field here, a police station, I understand, which is kind of strange. So these beautiful grounds are going to change beginning next year. But the heart and soul of this place is the culture and the artifacts, and the art, and the history we have preserved in this building. It is a great resource, hidden under a basket perhaps for many people, but it's a great resource. And this is also the home to all the Italian organizations who have their festas here, who have their offices here. So it's kind of the heart of the Italian community in Chicago.
Thank you.
Thank you. Martin, I don't know if you would like to
add
add something to
something.
what Terry told about your experience here in Casa Italia.
Well, thank you, Marina. Yes, like Terry, I'm a volunteer. I've been less time, but still truly enjoy coming here Wednesdays and Saturdays. Doing all kinds of activities, and the main purpose, one of the main purposes of Casa Italia, of the many, is to stimulate in people who have parents or grandparents who were born in Italy to recover, preserve, and eventually to many have begun writing, but as you can understand from writing a couple of pages to finishing a book, there's a long way, but to keep publishing family histories so that this information, the lives of so many people who have contributed to the U.S., to Chicago, are preserved and others can read about them, so that's great. Well, the library has an enormous amount of volumes of all kinds of topics, both that have to do with Italy itself and Italian American, well, not only of Chicago or of Illinois, but of the U.S. in general, comparative studies, etc. So And the exhibits are also a reason to visit. The Calabrian room has a lot of objects donated by families of Calabrian origin. Then we have the Scalabrini room, very, very interesting, with materials from the life of Monsignor Scalabrini. And the Vatican room, well, Terry mentioned the Italians in Chicago exhibit is also very interesting. And we have a moving exhibit that will go out next weekend to a school in the suburbs in Addison. And well, the Vatican room I did mention. So many things are going on, and they will continue to go on, as Terry said, for many years to come.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Then, thank you also for the opportunity to visit the museum, if possible. Is a very good opportunity. Good morning again, everybody. Some of you already met. Anyway, my name is Marina Lenza, and I'm the Education Officer of the Consulate General of Italy in Chicago. Also, on behalf of the Italian Consul General, Mario Bartoli, who arrived in Chicago, I think 1 month ago. Welcome and thanks to all for being here. Today's presentation is one of the events organized on the occasion of the 24th week of the Italian language in the world, focused on the theme Italian and Books, the world between the lines. This presentation is organized and sponsored by the Education Office of the Consulate General of Italy in Chicago and Detroit, in collaboration with the Italian Cultural Institute in Chicago, the schools, universities of Chicago and Detroit districts that participated in this initiative. This year, 2024, is also the 700 years from Marco Polo's death. And I am mentioning it because we try to connect this celebration to the celebration of the 24th Italian Week in the World, as the theme, the topic was books, and Marco Polo and Il Milione, and the topic of the travel, the trip, Via della Seta, was a very good occasion to celebrate both anniversary, Marco Polo's anniversary, and the theme, the topic of the Italian language in the world. I want to thank Casa Italia and Professor Dominic Candeloro for hosting this event. Professor Candeloro is out of town, as we know, for a conference, but when I proposed him, he was really enthusiastic at the idea of supporting this event today. A special thanks to Mr. Terry Chilico and Professor Martin Gesso, both volunteer at Casa Italia and descendant of Italian immigrants who graciously agreed to assist us in this conversation and to support in organizing this event. Thank you, Martin, and thank you, Terry, so much. We all want to welcome Loris, Giuratti, and Paolo Malguti, our Italian writers from the Veneto region. We are very eager to hear from you both, Paolo and Loris. We are at the end of some activities and workshop in USA, in schools, university, and cultural institution, and Italian cultural institutes. They started their trip in the USA from San Francisco, and then Los Angeles, and then Houston, and then Miami, and then last but not least, Chicago. And so I'm really happy to complete that you are here at Casa Italia to complete your tour, because this is a very meaningful place for Italian American community here, and also I think representative of the history of the Italian community, Italian American community. And this place is very much linked to the topics that you are presenting us, you are sharing with us, that are in your books. I read Paolo Malguti's Piero fa l'America and Loris Giuratti, L'Angelo del Grappa, and I was I found so many personal memories, and I think that plenty of stories and memories through their narrative, both with historical and fictional aspects, I think that also you will find likewise. Now I will leave you the floor, dear Terry and Martin, just to introduce our Italian authors, Loris and Paolo. Loris and Paolo, thank you so much.
Thanks to Marina, she has written introductions to Loris and biographical, and also a little summation of this wonderful book, L'Angelo del Grappa. Loris Giuratti was born in Padua in 1970, and for many years he has defined himself as a Bassanese. Che Bassanese? Environmental hiking guide, historical, popularizing writer who runs a training center. His vocation is the dissemination of skills to others. Committed to organizing events and people, searching for the right formula to communicate his profession to the world with the most varied skills it generates. Trained thanks to important companies focused on people's needs and respect for the environment. In many years of activity, he has dedicated a lot of time to study and practice to achieve training and historical dissemination through conferences, public meetings, and cultural itineraries. The wealth of knowledge gained gave birth to Che Storie project in 2012. The ambitious idea of combining our history with outdoor activities, culture, and personal training dedicated to children, adults, and ambitious companies. In his long experience as a guide and trainer, he has developed a belief that outdoor activity helps find solutions to many conflicts, develop problem-solving skills, and facilitates the active interaction of people in the world around them. Its production activity takes place on the Grappa Massif, the last bastion of the Great War. In 2015, he obtained the merit of the high honor of Grappa, the highest international recognition for those involved in research and recovery of the historic history of the sacred mountain. On the 2nd of June, 2023, he was appointed Knight of the Order of Merit of the Italian Republic by President Mattarella. Now this is a little summary of the book. Loris Giuratti was able to tell the drama of the soldiers of the Great War with disarming simplicity. He made it tangible, human. Angelo is a teenager like many others. He loves music and video games. He has a passion for street art. And above all, he hates school. He would like to spend the summer in the city with friends, but his parents have other plans. Don't parents always do that? They interfere with the plans of the youth. A holiday on Mount Grappa, in a remote cabin without an internet connection. Up there, time passes with placid slowness, and meeting someone your own age is almost impossible. Only the roe deer and the old herdsmen who collect relics of the First World War remain among the peaks. Angelo gets bored, snorts, protests. He still doesn't know that the mountain follows mysterious paths and has chosen him as the keeper of its secrets. So during a walk, he comes across a diary that belonged to a soldier in 1918. His name was Antonio. He was 19. They had sent him on the Grappa from deep Sardinia. He too was a boy, but he had a rifle on his shoulder and a lot of fear in his heart. Angelo begins to read and feels that part of those pages is hidden out there among the trenches, rocks, and thick woods. He wants to track down Antonio, piece together the pieces of his life. But where to start? Thanks to the guidance of a young researcher, he will learn to listen to the voice of the mountain and discover that history, far from desks and questions, can transform into the most extraordinary of adventures. Loris Giuratti talks about the mountains and the great history of the 20th century with the delicacy of his voice, teaching us the importance of looking beyond appearance, even in the midst of a storm. Now, this is unusual. Loris self-published this book in 2013, but it became such a publishing sensation that L'Angelo del Grappa was published by Rizzoli in 2020. Just to add a personal note here, this is Todd. Talk about 6 degrees of separation. I knew a Comboni missionary by the name of Valentino Sassuolo. He had a very interesting life. He was imprisoned by Idi Amin when he was in Africa. He was interrogated by the Nazis as a possible collaborator, not a collaborator, resistance member during the Second World War. He also had to hear confessions of people who were going to be executed by the Gestapo and witnessed their executions. But he told me about his father. His father was in the Alpini, and he fought and was captured by the Austrians, spent 2 years in a prisoner of war camp, and had to walk back because all the railroads were destroyed during the war, from Austria all the way to his home in Padua. He was a strong man, but after that he was never the same. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll definitely be much briefer because we want you guys to talk to us. That's what we're here for. But Paolo Malguti, he was born in Veneto in the town city of Monselice, and he's a teacher of literature. And yesterday I was lucky to go to the presentation at UIC, and there I can see that he is a very engaging, well, both of you are very engaging teachers. How can you ask a teenager to read a book? How can you do that? How can you pull them into the lives of others? So you're doing that very well. Oddly enough, you live in a different city from where you teach. I hope the commute is not that long. Asolo is the place where you live and you teach, as well as Loris in Bassano del Grappa. We had the map, but the map goes on and off all the time. And Paolo began publishing in 2009, and last year he published Piero fa l'America. What is this? It won an award, the Acqui History Award. What is this book about, and who is Piero? Piero is a a teenager also, like many of his students, but unfortunately his parents decide to move to Brazil, and not only to Brazil, but to the interior, to a densely forested area where life is very difficult, very difficult. So this novel really portrays a picture of one of the less known sides of Italian immigration. You probably are more familiar with those who have gone to Sao Paulo, to Buenos Aires, to New York, or to Chicago, but this is a different story. So, and also I thought was very interesting another book, Se l'acqua ride, and there's a documentary made that went to the Venezia Film Festival. An applause there. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Loris and Paolo. Thank you.
See? Okay, good morning, everyone, and first of all, thanks a lot for this great opportunity, for your hospitality. It's a great honor for me and Loris to be here, to end in this beautiful place our adventure in the United States. It's been 3 weeks, really rich, also fatiguing, because we, as you heard, we moved around the United States, and we met a lot of students of the middle schools, the high schools, of universities, and as you know, trying to speak, trying to communicate with a teenager is not so easy. It's a challenge. So
I use another language.
yeah, and so thank you very much. We will try to share with you some aspects of our work with the students in these weeks, and we will try to tell you some aspects of our novels that we like the most, and of course we would really like if you could ask us some questions about everything. There is no limit, of course, about writings, about school in Italy, about I don't know, our relationship with Italian culture, and because I think this can be a very good moment of meeting and friendship, first of all.
For the first time, I ask with you, how do you think if I can speak in Italian slowly?
Yes.
Because that,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm very tired for the speaking English. I'm sorry, but the most word that I use in this day, I apologize for our English. Ok, grazie. È stata una bellissima esperienza, veramente. Probabilmente stiamo ancora cercando di renderci conto di quello che abbiamo fatto, della possibilità che abbiamo avuto. Sono stati 20 giorni molto difficili dal punto di vista proprio fisico, ma è anche vero che siamo riusciti a portare un po' della nostra esperienza, ma back home molto di più di quello che siamo riusciti a dare. Abbiamo avuto l'opportunità di confrontarci con gli insegnanti inglesi, sì, insegnanti americani, scusate, di lingua italiana, e ci hanno dato veramente degli input importantissimi che porteremo nelle nostre scuole. Quindi quello che doveva essere un viaggio per portare la nostra esperienza, in realtà è stato un viaggio dove porteremo a casa molto di più di quello che abbiamo dato. Abbiamo avuto l'opportunità di lavorare con le scuole, non solo con la lingua italiana, ma anche con i dialect. Quindi abbiamo giocato anche con qualche parola di dialetto. E se avete voglia, magari possiamo provare a giocare anche con voi, se vi fa piacere. Insomma, quindi riportiamo un po' qualche parola di Veneto in America. Che altro possiamo dire?
Io passo all'inglese, così mi alleno, so I can practice, I can try to improve my English before I go back to Italy. And in these weeks we try to realize with American students some workshops of creative writing, of narration. And we met more or less, I think, 300 students in all the cities that Marina mentioned before, all students studying Italian language at a different level, of course. And so sometimes we could speak direct in Italian, sometimes we had to be very careful and to use few Italian words in an English context, but always we found a really deep interest in Italian language and in Italian culture. Since we both live in Veneto, we tried to catch their attention starting from Venice, starting from the city of Venice, its history, its monuments, but also its more peculiar aspects, for example food, and for example, as Loris said, the language, the special language of Venice. So we joked with the students, teaching them the word freschin.
Pantegana.
What is freschin? Freschin is the peculiar smell of the channels in Venice, the smell of fish and water, and in summer it's not so good if you walk under the sun.
It's a word that is not possible to translate in Italian. It is only for the dialect. It is very difficult, but on one word is possible to explain a many situation. The color of the water, l'odore, the smell of the canal. Some words in one word, freschin. And I speak with the animal, the particular animal in the Venice Canal, Pantegana. Pantegana is a big rat, like a cat. It lives in the Venice Canal, and this word is the most particular and the most famous word now in America, because all the people, all the guys use for the right. Some like I use Pantegana with Pantegana Mafia as a particular group of the organization in the Venice. Other use the same word for the drive gondola. It's very interesting.
So we, as Loris said, we share some words and then we try to make them create short stories starting from those words. Because this is a method that we use actually in our novels when we start a new project like Piero fa l'America. There are two phases of study. The first step is a more general study of the historical page that I've chosen, like this, the Italian immigration to Brazil. and so I try to collect some essays, some articles, some studies, in order to have data and sources of that particular fact. But this kind of material is quite cold. Statistics, years, particularly important facts, but there is no the heart, there is no spirit of people that lived in that period. And so the second step is trying to find this spirit, trying to find the blood and the flesh of that people. How can you do? For example, studying the letters of the immigrants writing back home with their particular language. When a farmer from Padova or from Verona that could not write in a correct Italian language, but he had to write home in order to make her wife know that he was alive, that he has arrived in Brazil. So he tried to create a new language, a melting pot, a mix between Italian dialect, some Portuguese words, and this is because he needed to communicate, he needed to make his family know how was the situation. These letters, as the letters of the Italian soldiers in the First World War that Loris studied for L'Angelo de Grappa, are very important because you can understand better the emotion of that period, but also, since a book is made of words, you can discover the words of that period, the particular language, and then you can put that language into the novel. And we both believe that every language is like I don't know, like a sea. You can only see the surface of the sea, of an ocean. And you can also accept only this view, this superficial view. But if you try to go deep into the sea, you can find the different rivers, different fishes, different temperatures. But it's always the same. And so, for example, for Italian, since I teach Italian, you can choose to write only with the modern Italian, the contemporary Italian, and this is, of course, a correct, a legal choice. It's not illegal to do it. But if you want, you can go deeper and you can try to use the ancient Italian of the 19th century, of the 18th century, and so back until Dante Alighieri. Or you can choose a particular part of Italy. Italy has this rich heritage of dialects, every part of Italy, but also in the same region. I was born in Padova, now I teach in Bassano de Grappa, which is 50 kilometers far from Padova, and my students, when they speak some dialect words, I understand that one is from Marostica, which is Vicenza, one is from Crespano, which is in Treviso, because they have different accent, different vocals, and so, for example, and this is Italian. For example, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, in Italiano giovedì, in my dialect, Zoba, in the Vicenza dialect, Zioba, in Treviso dialect, Doba, and so on. And we are in 30-40 kilometers range. Okay. This is our heritage. We can lose it, we can let it go and keep only Italian, or we can also lose Italian. We can only, we spoke before, our students nowadays in Italy, they often choose to learn more English than Italian because it's more useful for university, for their career. And of course, I understand, but as a teacher, I think, as an Italian teacher, I think that it's important also to keep strongly Italian language. And if your family gave you some dialect words, some peculiar words of that particular part of Italy, it's important to try and keep them with you, because they are not only words, they are linked with your family memory. They are linked with the love of your parents. Okay, so it's important to keep alive these languages.
You don't speak in dialect during your young age, but for me it's different because I grow, giusto, crescere. I grew with my grandmother, and my grandmother spoke only a perfect, wonderful dialect. Not Italian. And when I was in the first class, the teacher speak only in Italy. For me, it's a problem because some words like forchetta, in Italy is fork, in Italy forchetta, in English is fork, in dialect is piron. Another word. Piron. And when I asked to me, please call or write the name of your family. Wow, for me it's a problem because the name of my family is only in dialect, is not in Italian. And I asked with the teacher, I don't know. And the teacher called my mother. There is a problem. Why the problem? Your son don't have the name, don't make the name of your family. This is a problem. And when my mother asked me, why you don't go, because I haven't the name in Italian. Whereas my grandfather and my grandmother have the name in Italian, but is translated on the Veneto
Nickname.
The nickname. My daughter Anna, but in family Anie. Okay. And for me, the Italian is
a foreign language.
Yeah. But this is one of the reason. Sorry, one of the reasons that I study for more passion. For one of our book, we work 1 year for the research, and it's more or less the time for the write than the time for the research. We love the language, we love the word, we love the history, we love the research, and this all is in your book, in our book. How I speak in English? Great.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just was wondering if it is possible to project some slides. What do you think, Loris? We could do that.
We have the key.
Just the one that you shared yesterday at UIC could be.
Va bene, ce l'ho anch'io di là.
No, la prendo.
Okay.
Posso prendere la chiavetta?
Thank you.
While Loris go and take the USB key, I share with you another aspect that we try to communicate to the students in these weeks, which is the meaning, because we love historical novels and not contemporary novels. I think that the past is easier than the present to tell, to make the center of a narration. The present is confused. Present is quite chaotic. We are in the present, and we are a disturbing element of the present. While the past is over there in order, and so you can study, you can choose the page that you want to dig, and you can speak, I believe, about the problem of our present better if you translate them in the past. Like Manzoni in Promessi Sposi, he spoke about Austrian occupation of north of Italy, but transferring it into the Spanish occupation during the 17th century. So this is one reason. The other reason is that, as Loris said, you can play with the language, while the present is, I think, more flat from a linguistic point of view. Why you can play with words. We share with you some documents that we can leave to Casa Italia, of course, if you need, but that we found during our research, in particular, that these two letters that now I'm reading to you are letters from Italian immigrants to Brazil, in this case, but they are not so different from letters of the same period. Is 1878, the one on the left, and 1889, the one on the right. There are two emigrants from Veneto, and I think they are quite important because they are two good examples of what America meant for them. Even if we also, especially from Italy, have the image of America as the rich country of opportunities, not everyone managed to find the luck, money, success. A lot of immigrants had to come back to Italy because they could not afford to stay in the US or in Brazil or in Argentina. While other, like Vittorio Petrei, he is a lucky man, and he tells to his family: vi fazio sapere che il sole tramonte de ove che cada noi altri il leva. So the first thing he tried to explain that on the other part of the world the sun has a different different season. He's a farmer, so a lot of farmers in Brazil, the first things they write home is, oh my God, here you have to catch the fruits from the trees in winter, in December, and this is impossible. And all'America si sta bene, ma bisogna prenderla con la fiaca. So in America everything is good, but you have to work slowly. You don't have to work too much. And then in America non si muoie di fame, cioè in America you don't die of starvation. Si mangia pane fresca e carne fresca e uccelli a quantità che in Italia non ce n'ha. Cioè, we all eat white bread and meat, fresh meat, and also birds. A lot of birds that are not in Italy. So the main reason of the letter is here there is food, because in Italy, of course, especially in that period, for a lot of reasons, there was there were inflation, taxes increased. There was a hateful tax on the farina? Flour, ecco, that everyone had to pay. And then there was the disease of the vineyard in that period. All wine producers had problems. And then also, especially in the north of Italy, the silk industry had a deep crisis because in that years arrived the silk from China, which was cheaper. And so every family, every farmer family before could earn some money bringing up their i bachi da seta, so the silk worms, I mean. But then they could not do it anymore, and so they had to leave. The other letter is of Sante Paparotto, that is not so lucky as Vittorio. He writes to his wife: cara moglie, dopo il lungo e borrascoso mare trascorso arrivammo all'America. So he had a bad trip in the ship, so a long and with a stormy trip. We came to America, dove si credeva trovare le delizie della terra, cioè lavorare poco e guadagnare molto. They made us believe that in America we could earn a lot of money working a few hours a day. Ma invece non è così, al contrario, on the opposite, si lavora molto e si guadagna poco. Quindi we have to work a lot and we have a few money. E si mangia anche male. He says that the food is not so good. Di cibi... But we find that in the United States a single portion is huge.
Da dove scrivevano questi due?
Brasile, tutti e due. Sì, sì, sì. Qui ove ora io mi ritrovo il raccolto più superfluo del caffè. He works on coffee fields. Che bisogna alzarsi a prima che spunta il giorno. You have to wake up before the sunrise. Per recarsi al travaglio e si raccoglie alla sera, notte avanzata, and then you come back at night, in the night. So a very long working day. Sì, 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 vai pure. Yeah, this is some examples that we made with students in order to make them understand that every part of a territory like Italy, for example, but the same could be in France, in Spain, and so on, has its particular words. This is Spritz, globally famous Italian cocktail, born in Veneto, and the word Spritz probably was born during the Austrian occupation of Veneto, and the word means the shot of tonic water that the Austrian soldiers asked in the bars, in the restaurants, because the Italian wine was much too strong for them. They could not drink the Italian wine, which was not Prosecco. There was no Prosecco at that age, so white and red wine was quite strong, and so they asked for a bit of water, and they asked to spritz the wine. Another famous word in Veneto is skei, which means money. And this is a peculiar word because it has only a few similarities with other dialects. The word is connected to always the Austrian occupation because the single coins of Austrian Empire had that write on the coin Scheidemünze, which is a divisional coin, more or less the meaning. But for an Italian citizen who didn't know the rules of pronunciation in German, Scheide, we pronounce it Scheide. And so they said Scheide. From that word, Skei were born. So.
Next is the most famous words in Veneto.
Yes. The word is Mona. Mona is not a beautiful word, of course. It's a trivial word. You can say to a person, vai Mona, and you can say also te si un Mona, so you are a Mona. My grandfather told me very often te si un Mona, because I was not so calm as a boy. And the interesting aspect of this word is that the two meanings, so sei un Mona, you are stupid, a stupid boy, stupid man. Vai Mona, the other is the female sex, is in a trivial level of language. These are words from opposite side of the Mediterranean Sea, because as stupid, the word probably comes from the Arab word maimun, which means monkey, and so you are a monkey, you are a stupid animal, okay? And on the other side is a word connected to the medieval Greek, muni, which meant, of course, the female sex, and Venice had a lot of relationship, tradings with Constantinople, and so got a lot of words from Greece, as also Piron, that Loris mentioned before. It's a Greek word. Also from Puglia, also from Marche, all the eastern side of Italy on the Adriatic Sea has a lot of Greek connection in their dialects, of course, as Sicily, for example, or Campania, Naples has a lot of Spanish and Arabs word in its history, of course.
This is some words used during the First War to the Italian soldier, and this is a language, a special language for not make complete the others soldier Italian. È difficile spiegarlo, proprio in italiano. Erano parole usate per non far capire ad altri soldati quello che si voleva dire.
Shorthand.
Soldier.
Shorthand.
Short.
Abbreviation.
Oh, yeah.
Short.
Shorthand.
Short.
Shorthand.
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 Abbiamo imparato una parola nuova. Like squarcialossa is Leiskei is an Austrian machine, gun machine. The name of the Austrian gun machine is Schwarzlose. Okay, but the Italian people, they don't tell Schwarzlose, Spaccaossa. Okay, because it's a very terrible, destructive gun machine. And this is one out of the word. Dio mama, aspiranti cadaveri, bagaglia mano is a terrible terminal, a terrible word, because they use when he arrived in the line, the front, the young soldier, the most youngest soldier was born in the 1989. 99, sorry. The name is Boys of the 99, ragazzi del 99, but they haven't any experience with the line, with the trains, with the word. and the other so they used for the baggage. Used for
They stole them the gun, they stole them the helmet because they were younger. They were not so expert, and so the older soldiers wanted to stay alive, and they often had an old gun, an old coat, or I mean, they had no bullet, and so they stole from the youngers, and so they call them hand luggage. Bagagli a mano, it means you are an hand luggage, so I can take from you whatever I want.
Okay. Baggage is another word. Baggage is bagaglio. Okay. Dio Mama is another terrible word because when she come to the line, when she come to the word, and he was feriti, was wounded. Staying in the battle or in the camp of the battle, and he tell Dio Mama, the God and the Mother, and this is a terrible Dio Mama because he tell at the urlavano, they cried this word.
And so, as we try to tell before, if you study the First World War, you can, in order to write a novel, you can only study facts, so the battles, the generals, how they lived in trenches, but you can go deeper and try to get the language. And so we, in our novels of the First World War, we try and use these words. Of course, they are quite difficult also for an Italian, because no one knows that a young soldier was called Bagagli a mano or Dio Mama. But we think that is a challenge, a useful challenge for the reader in order to understand in a more complete way a particular page of our history. And so not only facts, but also words. This is the method that we try to follow and to share with the US students. If you have any question, or if you remember, for example, a word of your family dialect that you received from your parents, we would be really happy to hear them, because yes.
So in Toscana, and if you hear it right away, you'll say they're Toscan, the word that they use for father, babbo.
Babbo, yes.
So if you hear babbo, siete Toscano.
I see.
But if you say babbo in the south, you're little pats in the head.
Strange enough, I used to call my father Babbo. I'm not from Tuscany, probably from reading Pinocchio. Perché Pinocchio, probably. I was the only one in family to call my dad Babbo.
And it was
It
not
comes
common.
from the stem ba that is Indo-European anyway. So ba, papa, father in English.
So actually in your area it was not common.
No,
to
no,
call
not at all.
So
I'm pretty sure that from
was
reading
from
Pinocchio.
Pinocchio.
In San Francisco, we met an high school class and a young student, a young girl that also prepared us the tiramisu. She prepared the tiramisu for that day, a very good tiramisu. And she said, in a moment, she said, mio babbo, and Loris immediately said, tu sei della Toscana. Tu sei di Pisa, di Pisa.
And the other one was, they would say when we were bad, ti don bacala.
Bacala.
Because bacala is the fish, it's dry, it's hard, so I'm gonna hit you hard. But if you say bacala in the south, it's not a nice
In the
thing.
Veneto language, te batto come un baccaia. Because
when you have to prepare bacala, you have to hit him with a knife or an axe to dismember it. And so also my grandmother, I hate you like a bacala.
Very.
In
Yes.
Veneto is te batto come bacà.
Yeah, I've been researching a family from Venice came to London and America about the time of, they were friends of Thomas Jefferson, so about 1800, Bartolome Taliaferro. And sometimes they used the name Tolver. Would you recognize that from any dialect in the Veneto?
Cover?
Tolver.
Tolver?
Taliaferro, Tolver.
Cover?
I might not be pronouncing it
Yeah,
correctly.
can you spell it?
Yeah.
Tolver.
Tore, forse se torme.
Tolver.
Tolver.
Che tolme.
Taliaferro, Tolver.
Tolme is bring.
Right,
Tolver.
Tolver.
Well, Tolver.
You might have been just trying to Americanize it, make it smaller.
Yeah.
Just tell
Yeah,
them.
to shorten the name maybe.
Yeah, short.
Ah, I see.
I'm not
Could
sure if
be.
it's from the Veneto, if it's a dialect of the family, or if it's just something that happened here in America.
Because Tagliaferro, we know the surname. It's
Right.
quite
Come on.
not so common, but you can find it also nowadays in also the north of Veneto. Also, I had some students in Bassano de Grappa, Tagliaferro, but Tolver. No, my.
I wasn't sure if maybe there was some Austrian there, or
Ah, well, probably it's
Friulian, maybe.
if they were quite upper class, maybe if they were noble.
Possibly, yeah. They may have been merchants. I mean, they
Ah.
came to London first and then to the States.
See, because sometimes they had the double
Yeah.
surname.
They may have been involved in growing apples, because they also have named an apple the Taliaferro apple,
Ah,
at least here in Virginia.
I see.
Yeah,
So they were rich.
perhaps.
Okay. So maybe it's an Alps surname also from Belluno, Tolver. See, probably. I remember that a lot of during the 19th century, since there was the Austrian Empire also in Veneto, a lot of higher class family married with higher class Austrian families, and so they had the double surname. So you can find, I don't know, Piovesan Müller, which is Veneto and Austrian, and maybe Tolver is an Austrian surname. Maybe you should.
Grazie.
This is the page for the research of the immigration, the Italian immigration.
Maybe you know we use this with the students, especially when in the class there was some Italian last name, and so this is the International Center for Study on Italian Immigration of Genova, and they collected the archives of the main harbor of landing. United States, Brazil, Argentina, Canada, and Australia, from the 1880s until the 1950s. And you can insert a surname, for example, Malguti.
But you want to
Tagliaferro.
make an experiment with the Tagliaferro?
So since sometimes students didn't know, yesterday at the UIC a young girl told us that her father never wanted to tell her the story of their family. And now she wants to find out, she wants to research, because she don't know anything about her grandparents in Italy. And
There is
so
103 persons.
So, for example, non so se può aumentare lo zoom. I 3 puntini in alto a destra. And so you can find For example, the first name, Tagliaferro Acetricca. It's a strange name. Età, the second column, età, 1 year. So she was a baby. And the date of the trip, 12 March 1911. And she registered in Argentina. And from there you can go to the schedule, to the particular archive, and you can find, ecco, Acetricca, it was a male, not a female. He left Italy from Genova. You have the name of the ship, Tommaso di Savoia. He, with his family, they made a trip in 3rd class, not 1st class. That was quite common, of course. And you can also find the photo of the ship. Let's see if se c'è qua. Here it is. Sometimes there is the photograph of the ship they used for the lab. So this is a good archive for in order to start a research. Here you can find a few information, but quite useful.
What is it? Can you tell us what the name?
Yeah.
ciseimonline.it.
Sì, so CIS.
CISEIONLINE.
Oh, okay.
Cisei.
Cisei.
Another
Okay.
Can you repeat?
Sì. CISEIONLINE.IT.
Grazie.
Means we're online.
Yeah. Cisei online.
Okay, capito.
Ci sei centro studi e migrazione italiana.
Ci sei, in Italian means are you there? One word, ciseimonline.it. IT, giusto?
Yes.
Can you see? Sì?
Grazie.
Non c'è erase.
Another website that we use is from the research about the soldier died during the First War, and the name is cadutiGrandeguerra.it. is more difficult like this.
Bisogna scriverlo.
Meglio,
Un biglietto perché non vabbè, lo scrivo sopra.
It's only for the
One word, una parola, caduti grande guerra.
CadutiGrandeguerra is only for the died soldier. It's not possible to research for the soldier who
Survived.
Can you suggest us a surname? The last name in Italian, last name that we can research for the
Another variant I saw was Pace and Paca.
Pace?
Pace.
Pace per dentro che un
Caduti grande guerra.it. Punto same thing, IT. Sorry. Allora,
This is,
caduti means soldier. La grande guerra, no? Caduti grande guerra.it.
There is 279 only with the name Pace.
You can find the date of birth, 1885, Pace Achille. It's the city in which he was born, Livorno, so Tuscany. He was an officer, caporale, and this is the place of the death, Monte Vodice, and the cause of the death. He was wounded during a fight, and
If you open the other page, dati personali, this is all the file of the soldier, and was born in 7 March 1885. The place he was born, And this is nel totale caso, this is a Medal of Honor, bronze.
The bronze medal. Here the bronze medal.
DM sta valore militare. There is three sort of medal in Italy: bronze, gold, silver, and gold. But it was like
Pace is quite a common last name all along Italy. As you can see, here is Tuscany, here is Trentino, here is Verona, Monteforte del Pone, Amatrice, L'Aquila, Bronte, Sicily, Rovigo, Veneto. So very.
If I will make a research about Pace, it's very difficult because there is many people.
And so also this is a good point in order to start a research. Okay.
Okay.
And you use it for your students?
Yes. We use this for the research. We use for because there is many people now make it about the grandfather or about the parents that was died during the war. And one of the work that make me and Paolo is this research for the parents. But after this war, he write to the Italian. Non mi ricordo le parole italiane, adesso giù cambiate. Arrivo a casa che parlo solo inglese, non parlo più italiano. Archivio di Stato, Italian Archivio di Stato. There is one of the, in every city there is a Archivio di Stato. You will write a mail and 3, 4, 5 days we receive a document, and the name of the document is foglio matricolare.
Avete scritto anche un libro insieme o avete...
Non ancora.
Non ancora.
Ci state pensando?
Diciamo che abbiamo, come dire, per il momento abbiamo avuto percorsi editoriali molto serrati e abbastanza in parallelo. Anche perché diciamo è difficile riuscire a trovare il momento in cui siamo tutti e due allineati. Ad esempio adesso io sono uscito a settembre con un romanzo, Loris è uscito a febbraio e quindi magari lui adesso sta iniziando un nuovo progetto e io sto ancora portando in giro il libro e quindi bisognerebbe essere liberi tutti e due. Però sicuramente questa esperienza che abbiamo fatto è stata un'esperienza di collaborazione più profonda e più continua rispetto alle altre collaborazioni che abbiamo avuto negli anni scorsi. Oltretutto, diciamo, io e Loris siamo riusciti a restare amici anche se io ho avuto suo figlio come studente al liceo.
E anche adesso dopo 20 giorni di vita condivisa al 100%. No, la nostra grande fortuna è anche una grande fortuna, una ricchezza, abbiamo due modi di scrivere molto differenti. E questo ci permette anche di trattare lo stesso argomento e di parlare anche dello stesso posto, perché abbiamo scritto entrambi, entrambi abbiamo scritto più libri sul Monte Grappa e molto spesso abbiamo lettori in comune, quindi i lettori leggono entrambi i libri proprio perché c'è questa differenza di scrittura, di linguaggio e di modo di lavorare che ci permette di continuare a vivere in parallelo. In realtà qualcosa assieme l'abbiamo fatto perché abbiamo fatto un progetto di beneficenza, però ognuno scriveva un racconto e poi è una raccolta, un'anthology, e quindi là c'è lo stesso nome sulla stessa pagina mio e suo.
Questo è un po' lo scenario di alcuni dei nostri libri. Questo è il Monte Grappa. Beh, spiegalo tu che sei più di me.
Sì, questo è il grande sacrario della cima del Grappa, raccoglie le spoglie di 12.615 caduti italiani e 10.295 caduti austro-ungarici, quindi ha una caratteristica abbastanza unica, che è stato costruito per dare spazio ad entrambi gli eserciti. Adesso in Italia ci sono altri sacrari come il sacrario di Asiago, che ha le spoglie di italiani ed austriaci, ma in realtà i soldati austriaci sono stati portati nel sacrario negli anni 70, quindi era stato costruito durante il periodo fascista solo per i soldati italiani, mentre questo, sempre costruito durante il periodo fascista, e lo rende anche storicamente, è una delle cose che lo rende storicamente affascinante, è che è stato costruito e partito con l'idea di mettere all'insieme nello stesso posto soldati che durante la guerra erano di schieramenti opposti, con anche una particolare caratteristica che i soldati italiani guardano verso l'Italia e i soldati austro-ungarici guardano verso quello che un tempo era l'impero austro-ungarico, quindi proprio il fronte è sempre. E questa cosa mi è rimasta particolarmente impressa, perché una volta ho avuto occasione di raccontarlo degli austro-ungarici e ho fatto l'errore, che non farò mai più, di dire back quando ero nella parte austro-ungarica, di dire back, e loro mi hanno detto no, non è back perché guarda nella direzione, quindi è un front ed another front. Questa è una curiosità di questo grande sacrario. Al centro, quella stella che vedete, c'è una parte dedicata anche all'aspetto sacro, perché c'è la famosa Madonnina del Grappa, che fu portata lassù dall'allora cardinale patriarca di Venezia, che poi è diventato Papa con il nome di Pio X.
Prima della guerra.
Prima
della guerra in cima a Grappa c'era una statua della Madonna che proteggeva la pianura. Dopo la guerra hanno deciso di tenere la statua al centro, diciamo, simbolico del sacrario. Anche questo è particolare perché molti sacrari fascisti sono, diciamo, laici, non ci sono segni religiosi.
Mi era ignoto, a Roma è un soldato della prima guerra.
Sì, scelto da una madre che aveva perso il proprio figlio in guerra tra quante bare?
C'erano 11 vari.
Poi ne ha scelto uno.
Sì, la leggenda vuole che Maria Bergamasco, così si chiamava, è andata avanti e indietro un po' di volte, poi si è tuffata su questa bara e la sua convinzione, e va bene così, è che quella fosse la bara del figlio, che era uno dei tanti dispersi.
Ad Aquileia.
Che differenza c'è tra sacrario e cimitero?
Allora, diciamo che la differenza è più di natura, mi viene da dire, politica, nel senso, il cimitero è una struttura religiosa, ok, di tombe, o struttura anche, può essere anche militare, però di tombe individuali. Ad esempio i cimiteri i memorial statunitensi o inglesi, che hanno le tombe a terra una a fianco all'altra. Il sacrario è molto spesso monumentale, quindi le tombe sono inserite in strutture. Ad Asiago c'è una struttura enorme ad arco, qui c'è una struttura a gradoni, e quindi diciamo chiaramente questa è un'opinione, insomma, c'è anche un uso ideologico che forse invece nel cimitero militare è più rispettoso della individualità del soldato. Invece qui, vabbè, adesso non si vede più, ma insomma i soldati vengono anche usati con uno scopo ideologico, che era durante il fascismo anche quello di celebrare la vittoria della guerra, di celebrare l'eroismo del soldato morto in guerra, quasi celebrare la bellezza della morte in guerra. Invece quello che io noto, e anche Loris, insomma, abbiamo visitato i cimiteri inglesi, americani, in Francia della prima guerra mondiale, il fatto che siano tutti a terra, con una lapide, con la croce o con la stella di Davide, a seconda insomma del credo che avevano, è anche più forse rispettoso proprio della singola persona, non sono tutti soldati.
Sì, la differenza importante, però adesso non so se faccio fatica a spiegarvelo in inglese, spero che sia chiaro in italiano, è tra ossario e sacrario, perché il termine sacro per noi fa immediatamente riferimento a Dio, invece qua si intende sacro alla patria. Okay? Infatti le grandi scritte che campeggiano su questi monumenti, gloria a voi soldati del Grappa, e per una legge del periodo fascista, che tra l'altro non è ancora in vigore, non è mai stata abolita, per motivi differenti, tutti i soldati presenti all'interno del sacrario sono proprietà dello Stato. Questo permette adesso che nessuno di quei soldati può essere rimosso passati gli anni, quindi, ma a suo tempo aveva un significato differente. Il termine ossario francese, quindi i grandi ossari francesi nelle campagne di Verdun piuttosto che insomma nelle zone francesi, ancora oggi hanno le ossa a vista. Molto spesso hanno le ossa a vista. Quindi questo è un messaggio molto forte di gloria al soldato, ma nel contempo di un chiaro messaggio di cosa rappresenta la guerra. Mentre il sacrario fascista abbandona questa idea e nasconde le ossa, glorifica il soldato proprio per esaltare il soldato nell'insieme dello Stato. Quindi è molto curioso e molto interessante quando si comincia a lavorare su queste cose.
C'era una domanda?
Yeah, I was just curious. You say the students have the difficulty with the dialect, the public might not understand. How were you able to take and have such a successful books and movies and popularity in that dilemma?
Well, thank you. I think that now in the last 10 or 15 years in Italy, Italian literature is moving in a clear direction from different parts of Italy, from Sicily, from Campania, from Abruzzo, from Veneto. A lot of writers began to use in different measures, in different ways, some aspect of their region. And they accepted the challenge to make this peculiar language meet the reader, and it's not easy. My publisher is from Turin, and I write also in Veneto dialect. And when we go through the editing, the final step, of course, we have to find a balance between Italian and dialect. And the first time it was very difficult to me because I said, no, I want to use a lot of dialect. But of course, I think they are right. They told, be careful because a reader from Genova, a reader from Turin can't understand what you are writing. But I think that if you choose carefully 2-3 words for chapter, maybe you can make the page taste of your part of Italy without being much too difficult for the reader.
And for the cinema, many years ago, the actor learned the perfect language because in Italian cinema, in all the region, the language is perfect. Now is the opposite. Now the actor use the dialect, not the dialect word, but the dialect accent. If the film is in Veneto, Rome accent is the film is in Rome, is an inverted.
Yeah, they no more fear to make understand from which part of Italy they come from. So,
Grazie.
grazie.
Grazie a voi.
Bene, grazie mille. Thank you.
Avete avuto opportunità di parlare appunto della questione del dialetto nelle comunità immigrate, ed è un aspetto molto interessante perché la prima generazione, cioè i primi nati all'estero, i genitori non hanno insegnato, molto spesso mi dicono, non mi hanno insegnato l'italiano, a prescindere che non lo parlavano il dialetto, ma nemmeno il dialetto. E vi faccio subito un esempio di questo dottor Amari, poverino non c'è più, il quale mi raccontava i genitori gli dicevano non parlare napoletano perché erano discriminati. Il dialetto li identificava come immigrati, oltretutto immigrati, e se vogliamo ancora caricare immigrati del sud Italia, venivano discriminati. Quindi purtroppo c'è questa crasi per questo motivo. Quindi sono rimaste delle parole, potete chiedere a loro infatti ancora, però proprio il dialetto no.
Questo noi lo vediamo in Italia, nelle scuole, con immigranti o dall'est Europa o dal Nord Africa che vivono la stessa situazione, cioè a volte, visto che i genitori hanno desiderio di integrarsi, allora perdono totalmente la radice linguistica. Altre volte adesso lo stanno proprio studiando nel provveditorato, insomma, nell'ufficio scolastico della provincia di Treviso. C'è anche un fenomeno opposto, cioè che ad esempio ci sono paesi nella provincia di Treviso con forti comunità musulmane che dopo aver passato i ragazzi, dico la fase adolescenziale, gli adolescenti, dopo aver passato una fase di rifiuto, adesso sono molto attenti a rispettare il Ramadan, sono molto attenti a vestirsi manifestando che loro appartengono a quella cultura, e quindi c'è quasi un desiderio di ritorno. L'aspetto linguistico interessante, che è un po' appunto in contraddizione, ma per un'ovvia ragione, è proprio quello delle comunità in Brasile, perché visto che andarono a occupare zone di foresta deserta e molto spesso partiva quasi tutto il paese, sono casi tipo dalla Val Sugana partono 200-250 coppie, famiglie, quindi praticamente un'intera comunità si sposta e va a colonizzare una parte di foresta, quindi non c'è nessuno, e cosa succede? Che continuano a parlare la lingua del paese. E per decenni trovi, che ne so, il dialetto di Treviso, di Vicenza nel cuore della foresta.
Congelato nel
Esatto.
periodo, perché
Succede a volte
tanti
che-
siciliani, sì.
Succede che ci sono questi collegamenti, no, tra l'Italia e il Brasile, e dall'altra parte parliamo inglese, no, noi parliamo italiano. In realtà l'italiano che parlano è veramente difficile da comprendere, perché non è un italiano ma è una forma dialettale estremamente arcaica che un italiano fa fatica a comprendere. Cioè, in realtà loro stanno parlando italiano, sono convinti di parlare italiano, ma in realtà è un dialetto vecchio che anche chi sa il dialetto fa fatica a capire.
Questo crea purtroppo a livello psicologico qualche problema, perché quando molti rientrano in Italia dicono ma come, io ho parlato in dialetto, non mi capiscono, non sentivo questa espressione da tanti anni. Sì, è una crisi di identità.
Però
Anche il dialetto cambia.
Sì.
Però sentirli parlare è molto bello, perché ha una sonorità
Eh.
molto bella.
We are aware that both L'Angelo del Grappa and Piero Falamerica are stories of great sacrifice. What's the difference between them, in a few words? Piero Falamerica is, I read it and I thought there was a history projected towards the future, with its history of immigration. And l'Angelo del Grappa is something that takes back us to the past, in a way, even a past that is seen by an Italian boy of nowadays Italian boy. So what could you say about the difference of vision, not a vision, of point of view? That's it.
Well, I would say that it's important that as teachers, as educators, as guide, Loris especially, we both choose young protagonists. Walking through different plots, of course, but we both try to make the teenage period central in our novels, because the main challenge, I think, as a teacher, but also as an Italian, is to make the young generation ready to read books. In Italy, we do not read a lot of books. I think it's the last, or more or less the last country in Europe for number of book read every year. And so if you learn to read when you are young, then you can go on reading. It's difficult, like everything else. Learning a language, learn to play an instrument, a music instrument. If you start at 30 years old, 40 years old, is more difficult than 5, 6 years old. So the same in reading. So we try to build stories that can match the interest, match the focus in young students. Difference, I think, Loris is able to set his story in the present, and it's a good thing. I prefer the setting in the past. I find myself more comfortable writing a historical novel far from the present, and Loris is better than me, because he can set the story nowadays, and so of course a young student can see himself in the plot in a more efficient way.
And yes, I wrote this book for the big problem now in Italy is the students don't like the history. For the young people, the history is not a good subject like Mathematica and history. And this is a system, a new system for the history study the history. He teaches the history, but they don't say they teach the history. They read a book, and in the book there is the true history. One of the book is like Saint Paolo in the present, but another is in the past. And in the past, the story in the past is correct, is real, is the history of the First War. After they read the book, the boys study the First War. Is an interesting system to study the war. The name of the book, Angelo, is interesting for this place because my grandfather, Angelo, is after the First War in the 1920, he come in America. He come in Chicago for work here, and when la stanchezza comincia a farsi sentire.
Come si dice?
Quando ha recuperato i soldi,
He earned money enough.
he come back to the home, but when he come to the home, the problem was the wedding for my grandmother, and she come back to Chicago for another again in the 1929. And for me, Chicago is a sort of the second house. It's the first time in Chicago for me, but it's very molto commovente.
Touching. Ma was the last name Giuratti like yours?
No, Fachin. They're my grandfather to the
Mother's
mother
side.
side. The mother's side, yes.
Did you go see where they lived or the area? Did you search that?
Yes, but now with Martin, I researched the exactly when he will stay during the
You found it? You found information?
I find the boat. I find with research. I see some information, but it's very difficult because I use only the research about the online archive. But I find that with Martin, I have many information about him.
So next novel for Loris will be the story of
no,
the
no.
grandfather.
Bravo,
Looking
bravo.
forward to read it.
Definitely, yeah.
We are looking for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Many of them, they are writing the memoirs.
Ah, it's
and
very
so,
important.
yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah, and it is very interesting to make a comparison, to compare the two perspectives. That is, the one from Italy abroad to other countries, unknown countries, and destination, and from that point on what happened and how it was for people who immigrate and had to face with a very, very hard and difficult situation. No? This is an interesting point of view.
Of course, for Italians who remain in Italy, only I simplify, of course, but mainly sees the living. The emigrant is living, and he left, and he became rich, and the story ends at the Genova or Naples harbor after they hailed their relatives and came back home. But of course, there are a lot of studies. Of course, you know about the trauma, the traumatic experience of leaving home without knowing what exactly could happen. When I try to explain to students the experience of emigration toward America, I make the comparison with astronauts in the space, because they didn't know what was the ocean. They often in the letters call it La Grande Pozza, the big and they never saw the ocean. Most of them never took a train, never took a ship. They see the ship the first time when they are leaving their houses. And there is a letter written from an emigrant of Genova. There is, you can laugh because it's quite ridiculous for us, but try to imagine. He writes to his wife, I'm in Genova, but I'm no longer sure to leave, because I saw clearly that the ship is iron made. and I know that iron sink in water. And so how can they make them go through the ocean? And this was, of course, the level of unknown in their perspective. Another aspect, the climate, the change of seasons, but they left. They went. They took the adventure, and so how courageous were them in order to live, and then the adventure of create a new language, new communities, the need to take strongly their roots, to keep them alive. And on the other side, I would like to write something about this. How, as you said a few minutes ago, when you leave a country, it's like as you took a photo of that country in that moment, and so your memory is still. But your previous home, your previous village, it goes on in time, and so happens something like this. My wife family is from Dolomiti, is from the mountains, and part of her family emigrated to Detroit, and they became quite rich because they worked in factories and car factories, and so they, like a lot of immigrants, they sent every year the box for Christmas with a lot of things. The problem was that this box arrived every year during the 50s, during the 60s, during the 70s, and of course in the 80s they went on sending also things like soap or like, come si dice le mollette per stendere?
Laundry pins.
And so in Italy they never told them that you have no longer to send us mollette, because we have mollette in Italy, because they don't want to offend them. And so in our home on the mountains we have a room full of mollette from Detroit, tons of mollette, never opened the box because they are still there, because they thought that in Italy there were mollette and soap. And this is funny, but also I think emotional, because it's an act of love, an act of care. So, well, see?
It's funny that, I'm going to say this in English, the same thing happened to us when we went to Italy in 1959. Okay, I'm too old, but anyway. My mother brought suitcases full of nylons and cigarettes and all kinds of things like this, and she opens it and gives it to all my dad's sisters and all. Oh, here's some of this. They go, Anche qui, we have it here, we have it here. But I mean, everybody was in like a time warp. They thought nothing ever changed. Do we need to bring toilet paper to Italy? Oh, Anche qui, they have it here, of course. So it was interesting, and when my father spoke Italian, he had been away from Italy for 30 years, and they said, oh, he speaks all'antica. He speaks his dialect the old way, so which is just what you said.
Where was he from?
Well, he was born here
Yeah.
when his father worked for the Pullman shops, and then they went back to Italy, Prima Guerra Mondiale, and they had other children. And so he was here, and when they went to school, he was 2 or 3 years old, and the nuns used to hit them on the head. Picchiavano le mani perché parlavano inglese invece di italiano quando andavano a scuola. But anyway, the nuns would smack the kids with the ruler because they spoke English, because they were only 2 and 3 years old, my dad and his brother. So when they went back to Italy, they had to learn Italian, but they were both born here. But the other relatives were. And of course, he spoke Inglese with an accento. Accento in Inglese, accento in Italiano.
A similar story. My father was born first generation American, but his parents came from a small village about 30 kilometers out of Torino. And he would always send, he became a fairly successful businessman, checks to Italy. They would never cash the checks. And he said, oh, they have too much pride, they have too much pride. So at the time I worked for an airline, and I finally convinced him to go back to Italy. So he called me one day, he says, Terry, listen to this, listen to this. I said, what is that, what is it? That's a dishwasher. They have a vineyard. They own a bakery. They have a villa. They have more here than I have in Chicago. That's why they didn't cash the checks. They should have sent me money.
When my grandfather comes in Italy, I spoke three or four words in English. But when day he came to the bar, the osteria, he for all the people is l'americano, but he spoke free.
Yeah.
Thank you, goodbye, hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you see big differences between the American students and the students back in Italy?
Good question.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you. On one side, I would say that there are no difference in the way they work when you give them a solid track to work. They all worked. They never, only in one case, in a very particular situation,
Yes,
we had a little problem, but very little. In all the other occasions, we met really dynamic students, really interested students, even if try to speak about very far from them topics in time and in space, of course. On the other side, like I and Loris in these days always spoke during dinner, maybe we try to sum up what we saw. The school system in the US and in Italy is very different, and this of course has a consequence of the student typologies, student type, so student models, because for example the fact that in Italy students stay in their classroom all the morning from 8 to 1 p.m. Always in the same classroom, and the teacher changes from an hour to the other. It makes students really friend in the classroom, only in the classroom, only in their class, but not so close with other students. And while here we saw there is a spirit of the school, not of the class, and this is a good thing, I believe. And also you can give a responsibility to students in order they have to move, they have to choose their lessons, they have to practice sport and music, and so it's some kind of society, this school. In Italy, by now we see they come to school in the morning, and at 1 p.m. they come back home and they don't want to stay at school. And also because Italian schools have no football fields, they have no sports structures, so it's only a place to study, of course, which means it's a boring place for a teenager.
They do their extra studies activities in the afternoon and voluntarily and with the family's investment. That's it. That's it.
One way you've been able to get beyond that is with your adventures up in the hills. Could you tell us more about that? The exploration, taking the students up in the hills?
Beh, allora qui lascio la parola a Loris. L'esperienza di portare ragazzi in montagna.
It's more important for the nature, but it's more important for the student for speak about the history in the place of the history. I hope that this experience for the student is more molto utile. Sorry, for the other for the life, because like this, no, the history is not interesting for the student, but if they live in the history, there is another world. We use some system like video in the gallery, some rumors, some affect, okay, and this is very it's not aggressive, but it's very important for the heart. Impressive.
Sometimes, Loris, since on the battlefields in Italy, nowadays you still can find bullets, you can still find remains of the war, but it's not easy. If you walk alone for a long time, you find them, and we both have at home a lot of these remains. When we go with students, Loris sometimes hid some bullets along the street, and so students find out it's a treasure, it's like an archaeological treasure, and so they get really emotional about this. It's a fake, of course, but in this way we can make the first step, which is not all the road to the knowledge of First World War. But of course, if you made them interested in this, all the rest, it's easier.
This is an example, this is a video that we use during the visit. This is Italian general, and I use when arrived the new soldier at the front, and the general present the situation. But there is two sides of the same. One of the sides is the general. The general is very hard for the soldier, but the other side, the same general, is a very emotional, yes, because the war is not only the war, but the war is some problem like the war.
So you have
It is in Italian.
Yeah.
Santa, chi va? Parola d'ordine! Ho la morte. E lei, tenente? Ma vedo che è qua con i suoi nuovi arrivi. Venite avanti, fatevi vedere bene. Altra carne da cannone in prima linea. Voi non vi siete mai chiesti veramente cosa succede in guerra, vero? Ah, immagino di no. Sapete solo quello che è scritto di solito sui giornali. I giornali scrivono quello che vogliono. Vedete, la guerra non è solo la battaglia. Anzi, quella della guerra è la parte più facile. No, non mi fraintendete. Reclute. A nessuno di noi piace andare incontro alla morte, ma credetemi, c'è di peggio. Come cosa c'è di peggio? Può esserci molto di peggio. Questo è peggio. L'attesa snervante dentro a questa tomba di acciaio e di cemento è peggio. Qui noi abbiamo il tempo di pensare. Questo è il peggio. L'attesa snervante, qui, in buchi dentro la montagna o in trincea, dove avevo il tempo di pensare. Già, il peggior nemico dei soldati è la testa del soldato. Se non hai nulla da fare pensi a casa, ai campi, a tutto quello che hai lasciato e che forse non rivedrai più. Questa è la vera guerra. Forza, andiamo! C'è da fare, reclute! Dove pensate di essere?
Using this inside the gallery, the war gallery, in the darkness, and at the same I ate like me. It is very
Impressive.
yeah.
May I ask you what, where do you start from when you start writing a story? What is the?
It changes a lot. It depends on the project. Sometimes I began from a book. I met a book. They gave me a book that surprised me with its history, and then I started from there to research other sources. For example, when we go to libraries or bookshop in order to speak about our new novels, at the end it's quite common that the library gives us as a present a book about the village, about the small town we are in that moment. And those books are gold mine because you can find really a lot of information about common people in different historical periods, and so every one of those stories can be a good starting point for a novel. Other times I started a project from a journey. For example, I wrote a novel about the Constantinople siege under the Turks army of Maometto II, and it all started from a journey to Istanbul. I was really impressed about the Istanbul history, and so when I came back home, I started to study this page. So,
but you build the history starting from a character or from a situation or from
the period, from the
from
historical
a word.
period. Sometimes words comes later, usually.
And one more question for Loris. Do you think that with young generations, with students in particular, the secret of the success, just to attract their interest, has been and is to link the history and the territory, considering what you mentioned about the fact that history is not exactly the favorite subject.
The secret is the curiosity. If I can start in the young boy the curiosity that I had, this is I ho vinto. Because the curiosity, if a boy is interested with the story of the history, he read many books, he read many, he watch many videos, but the start of this is the curiosity. Now, our work is started the curiosity and back home. A volte insistere troppo è controproducente. Gli diamo il via e poi ci spostiamo. Perché se insisti troppo su un argomento il rischio è che diventa scuola. E la scuola in tutto il mondo per partito preso è is not so good.
Yeah, but living the history in the territory
if
with
you're
the
living the
students,
history to it.
as you explained before.
This is the start
really,
of the curiosity.
a good
Okay?
way.
And many little story about the soldier, many little story about the particular situation. Many objects in Italy, the front of the First World is very fine to catch some little guns,
and bullets,
bullets,
and mines.
yeah. Somewhere we use seppellire to bury for the research.
Just
wow!
Just a simulation. Okay.
For students,
I just ask Martin if he has some
question.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the documentary. Paolo, can you tell us briefly what the topic of the documentary was? Or the story behind the documentary?
Yeah, so the novel was about the death of river culture in Pianura Padana in the north of Italy when trucks became common. All the big trade ships on the rivers disappeared from a year to another in the 60s. These long boats with a flat base in order to go also in the smaller rivers were named burki, and they could have tons and tons of material, of sand, of rocks. It depended of course, corn, and it was a way to keep rivers alive. When they disappeared, rivers became obstacles to cross with bridges and no more. While for centuries rivers were the roads of our culture. And so this it was a project of a docu-fiction in 7 or 8 steps, parts, and we realized the first short movie trying to explain what is the river navigation about, and now maybe, I hope, but I don't know, as Loris knows, it's also a matter of money, of production. In the next years it will be possible to go on with this project, but it's been quite a good surprise to me to see this this beginning.
It is very difficult to the Italian cinema product a film with a book. There is no interest and there is no money.
Especially historical book,
yeah.
It's expensive, very expensive to make a movie from these books, because we have to rebuild a set with costumes, and so a book in the present is easier.
We stayed in Hollywood Boulevard with the book, but it's not.
No one accepted that. So. Okay.
In your classes, in your Italian language classes, in your other endeavors, trying to get students interested in whatnot, are you able to use any new technologies at all in language learning? Or let's say people can't go into the mountains, maybe they have virtual reality, they're hearing the language and using the soldier and things like that, or have you tried to explore any of that?
Maybe I use the technology. I use, now I have made an experiment with the AI, but is very difficult now for my job.
Yes, in the common lessons it's quite difficult. You can prepare something, especially with in order to make students work with PCs, with the web, with the internet resources. But as an Italian, as a Italian teacher, as a literature teacher, I strongly believe that new technologies, as all technologies, are instruments, and then they cannot be all the matter of success of the students. So you can use it to improve their interest, but the object, for me, remains the literature, remains the history facts, history periods, and so that must be the target, the final goal. Instruments can change. It's important to find the better instruments for the students, I think. Ok, grazie mille.
Grazie.
I really want to say thank you, just to remain with us, share with the, I think, very interesting conversation with Loris and Paolo. Thank you so much. A special thank also because I think that with this project, Loris and Paolo, as not only as writers, but also as writers, teachers that are teaching to Italian new generation, and we know, and I think it is very important to remind that the role of teachers, not only in building new generation sensitiveness for these important topics, and also for the challenges that they are going to face. And I want also to underline how much teachers of Italian are important for presenting Italy and Italian culture and Italian heritage and Italian language to abroad in general, and how grateful I am, and the Italian Consulate and the Italian government is to teachers who, like Anna Clara Ionta, for example. I don't know if there are among you other teachers. Anyway, for this building young generation for future, and also building bridges between Italy and USA and these territories where there is a very important Italian American community. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you to Martin and Terry to help us to organize all that, and everyone who contributed here at Casa Italia. Thank you.
How are their books available online?
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
But it's not here because the Rizzoli don't send the book in America.
Maybe through IPS.
With Amazon, to buy with Amazon.
And then there's a bookstore like in New York, I see it.
Rizzoli, we used to have it, there is none.
So I'm wondering.
No, we can leave one at the here in the library, so you can. No? Possiamo lasciare le copie in questa biblioteca così che loro le possono.
Io non ce n'ho più purtroppo.
Io posso lasciare lì, io
Ok, possiamo anche fare che chiediamo.
Adesso chiederemo ai Rizzoli di sistemare questa cosa.
have two.